Hey y'all, my name's Claudia, 37, female. Thanks for selecting my story. I guess I'll jump right into it. I was always one of those people who thought she had her whole life planned out. I mean, who doesn't, right? But life is like that messy ball of yarn that your cat gets into, and suddenly everything is tangled and confusing. I lost my first husband when I was just 27. It was like life hit me with a sucker punch. We were young and in love, or at least that's what I thought. He got into a car accident, and just like that, he was gone. It felt like someone had pulled the ground from under me, tossing me off. The pain and stress of losing him made me believe I'd never find love again. The idea of opening up my heart to someone new seemed impossible. Years started flying by, and I started feeling this loneliness creeping in. I craved companionship, but the idea of jumping into the dating scene terrified me. Where do you even start? So there I was, dabbling in the world of online dating, speed dating, you name it. But honestly, no man seemed to ignite that spark. They were either too bland, too intense, or just not the right fit. It felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. Enter Lester. Now, Lester was different. He had this Cuban-American charm that intrigued me. It wasn't love at first sight, but there was something about the way he made me laugh. We started talking, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. You're incredible, Claudia. I never thought I'd be able to find love in this lifetime, but you came around and changed my whole life. Honestly, Lester, you've made me believe in love again. This is no small task. You're amazing. Lester and I were getting closer and closer by the minute. I was so skeptical. I thought that some crap was going to hit the fan, and maybe I manifested it, but it surely did. You see, Lester came with a package deal named Wanda, his mother. Wanda had this uncanny ability to come out of thin air whenever Lester and I were getting serious. It's like she had a radar for our romantic milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, or just a quiet dinner at home. She'd appear like a genie ready to pass judgment. Now, Wanda was traditional, a real women belong in the kitchen kind of gal. And here comes me, Claudia, the unconventional wife. I didn't do much cooking. Cleaning wasn't a 24/7 gig for me. Sorry. And the real kicker, I had no interest in having kids. That last part, well, that was the deal breaker for Wanda. Picture this. We're at a restaurant, Lester, Wanda, and I. It was supposed to be a casual, get-to-know-each-other, better kind of night. Little did I know, it was the night Wanda would discover my non-traditional stance on motherhood. As we sat there, sipping on our drinks and scanning the menu, the conversation took a turn. Wanda innocently asked about our plans for the future, probably expecting to hear about a white picket fence and a nursery in the making. You two are just so adorable. I didn't think that my baby would find someone. He was always so grumpy. And don't even get me started on his flirting skills. Just horrible. Mom, really? I wonder how he even got a woman to be with him this long, but considering that you're a lacking woman yourself, I'm not too surprised that you two are getting along. Mom, stop it right now. What's that supposed to mean? I just mean that you don't do things that are, what the kids say, wife material. Yeah, that's it. You don't know how to be a wife. Maybe according to your standards, but I reckon that I'd be a great wife. I did it once before, and I can do it again. Oh, yeah? And what do you provide? What can you do for my son? Well, I can be a loving companion. I can be his rock, his supporter, and his best friend. Ha! She thinks those are wifey qualities. I do, actually. What about cooking, cleaning, huh? Well, maybe his mother should have taught him how to do those things. I'm not anyone's babysitter. Okay, ladies, I think it's time to get some more refreshments. What do you say? Wanda and I kind of just mumbled in agreement, obviously feeling a bit bitter after this little tiff. She was getting on my nerves. I knew she came from a super traditional background, but geez, cut a girl some slack. I was still feeling a bit annoyed with Wanda's rudeness, so I decided to stir the pot a little and said, "It's a shame you're not super into the modern way of doing things, because you should know I'm not really interested in having kids." The silence that followed was thicker than the black bean soup on the table. Wanda's eyes got so huge and I could practically see the gears turning in her head. I knew at that moment there was no turning back. I had just dented the picture-perfect image she had for her son's future. Wanda, being the traditionalist, had probably envisioned family gatherings with grandkids running around, a big Thanksgiving table, and a bustling home filled with the pitter-patter of little feet. What she got instead was a future daughter-in-law who preferred a quiet dinner date over changing diapers. She started rambling. "No children? What the hell is wrong with today's kids?" "Mama, please calm down. People are starting to stare." "I don't care. This woman is trying to give me a heart attack." "I don't know what the fuss is all about. I'm 36, for God's sakes. Did you think that I'd have all the time in the world to birth a team of footballers just so you could have grandkids? Lester, if you don't leave this woman right now..." "How dare you? Ladies, enough. Mom, I love you, but I love this woman. She's the love of my life. I know we're not doing things traditionally, but I promise you I'll be fine." "Whatever. Don't come crawling to me when it doesn't work out. Now, where's that damn waiter?" From that day forward, Wanda fully disapproved of our relationship. I mean, she wasn't exactly gung-ho about it before either, but this time, oh yeah, she was ready to put my head on a chopping block. It wasn't just about the kids, it was about the clash of traditions and expectations, and a clear lack of respect from both sides. Every time she dropped by unexpectedly or offered to teach me a proper recipe, it felt like a not-so-subtle reminder of annoyance with me, and I didn't take that kind of nice, nasty, passive-aggressive BS. So I would always snap right back at her. It was not a good relationship dynamic, to say the least. But love, stubborn as it is, kept Lester and me going. Despite the cultural differences and the dent in our relationship, we set out for our own version of happiness, one that didn't fit the traditional mold but felt uniquely ours, or so I thought. Within a year, Lester and I found ourselves exchanging vows. The wedding bells rang and I found myself blissfully married. But oh boy, did that send Wanda over the edge. She moaned and groaned about how it was all too soon and how it didn't make any sense. She was so close to not coming at all, but Lester convinced her, seeing as this was indeed the first time he was getting married. Looking back, I realize this might be the only thing we ever agreed on. The wedding brought out Wanda's traditionalist side in full force. She questioned our decision, shook her head constantly, and probably lost a few nights' sleep over the idea that her son was now a married man. Her son, who was supposed to follow the path she'd envisioned for him, the path of a traditional family with a traditional wife and traditional grandkids. Shortly after the wedding, Lester came to me with a big surprise. And no, it wasn't a sandwich at midnight, although that would have been delightful. It was an announcement that made my heart skip a beat. Imagine my surprise when Lester came up to me and said, "My mom is going to move in with us." He didn't even ask me. That was a huge red flag, but of course I didn't see it till it was too late. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Wanda wasn't frail or in need of constant care. She was vibrant and independent, maybe too much even. So why on earth did she need to live with us? It was like my cozy little life was being invaded by a hurricane named Wanda. Despite the weirdness of the situation, I agreed. Love makes you do strange things, right? So Wanda moved in, bringing her spicy cooking and a constant stream of advice. I thought I was signing up for a lifetime partnership with Lester, not a mother-in-law who'd give me tips on how to keep her son happy. It was a nightmare. I felt so anxious in my own home. Wanda's presence was scary and annoying. She had this knack for popping up in our personal spaces when we least expected it, offering relationship advice with the side of arroz con frijoles. It was like living in a romantic comedy written by someone who had never been married. Why was she always up in our business? When Lester and I would have our morning alone, she was there. When we would work out together, she was there. When we were having a romantic movie night, she was there. One day I got upset and I blurted out, "Isn't it enough that you're invading our personal space? Why must you be everywhere all the time?" Wanda and Lester were shocked that came out of my mouth. Honestly, I was shocked too. And then Wanda said something even more shocking. "If you have a problem with it, then you should talk to Lester, because he was the one who wanted me here." I was utterly shocked when I found out the truth. I turned to Lester, giving him that look that said, "Is that true?" The poor guy seemed too embarrassed to offer any defense. Well, I got my confirmation. You see, these past couple of months, he had me believing that it was his mother who wanted to be there. How she practically begged him to move in with us. But his lack of response told me everything I needed to know. Without saying anything, I stormed upstairs, slammed the bedroom door shut, and locked it behind me. He was going to sleep on the couch that night, and I didn't care about his bad back. The next morning, the house was filled with awkwardness. I didn't like Wanda. Wanda didn't like me, and I didn't like Lester at that moment. It felt like some stupid high school game. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself questioning why I did this to myself. I started reconsidering everything, thinking that I jumped into this way too fast. The spark that was once there was now flickering, replaced by feelings of resentment and disappointment. A month crawled by, and there I was, engrossed in my work in the home office, when I heard some commotion outside. I thought that Wanda was just moving things around again, but I couldn't be more wrong. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Wanda and Lester packing up some bags, moving things outside the house as if they had an escape plan in motion. Confused and concerned, I approached Lester, asking him what the heck was going on, but he seemed both embarrassed and irritated, avoiding eye contact and answering me altogether. Rude, frustrated with Lester's lack of response, I turned to Wanda directly, hoping to unravel the mystery, and to my surprise she smugly said, "I'm giving you what you wanted. I'm moving out." Initially, I'm not going to lie, you all, a wave of relief washed over me. Finally, my sick mother-in-law was leaving my house, meaning that I'd finally have my husband to myself. I thought that Lester had finally grown a pair and stood up to his mom, paving the way for us to repair our strained relationship. However, my relief was short-lived when Wanda dropped another bomb. "And I'm taking my son with me." The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. What? Why? I was hurt. I was angry, and I was confused. Wanda went on to explain that they were both tired of my BS, and that they wanted some peace of mind. "I even told him to divorce you, seeing as he doesn't need you anymore. But he said he still loves you, which is unfortunate." "Is that true, Lester? Do you love me?" "Of course it's true." "Then why are you leaving me?" "It's because he doesn't want anything to do with you. I mean, look at you. What sort of wife are you? You can't cook, you can't clean. That's why he wanted me to move in the first place. He knew he would probably starve to death if I wasn't around." Ouch. I looked at Lester and he just looked away. I couldn't believe I let my desperation cloud my judgment. This man wanted to be with me, but he still had his mother around? Why? Then it clicked. Lester probably only wanted me for my money. You see, Lester was someone who struggled with financial stability. He could never hold a proper job down for long periods of time, and he never had enough money to pay for rent and bills. Now, this didn't bother me. I had always been the primary breadwinner. That was how our dynamic worked. Again, I'm not a traditional wife, so bringing home the bacon wasn't an issue for me. So why on earth was this man moving out with his mom if he didn't have the money? Did he get a better job and didn't tell me? It was all very confusing. I just have one question. Who is going to be paying for your new lease and rent? Are you thick? My son, of course. Oh, really? Well then, if that's the case, then fine. You two can go. Lester had the gall to be upset. What? You're giving up on us just like that? Why not? You've made the decision to leave with your mom, so you two can go. Claudia, let's talk about this. We weren't even being that serious about leaving. He started droning on and on about how he was testing my loyalty and how he'd never actually leave. I was confused, and so was Wanda. She started asking her son why he was backtracking now, and I didn't understand either, and I didn't want to understand. I just wanted those two bozos out of my place. Once Lester realized that my decision about them leaving was final, he angrily finished packing, and the two of them left without a second look. As the door closed behind them, I crumbled into tears. Not out of sadness, but out of frustration with myself. I felt stupid for allowing a man back into my life when I clearly wasn't ready for it. The truth was, I had become desperate for love and affection. Could you blame me? I had been single for 10 long years by that point, and loneliness clearly took over my judgment. At that moment, I realized that I deserved better. I wouldn't let myself cry because of Lester and Wanda. No, I had to pick up the broken pieces and move forward. So that's what I did. That very same day, I got rid of anything that reminded me of those two clowns. I also saged my home because I wanted their bad energy to stay far away. It was a therapeutic process, cleansing my home of their presence. Once that was done, I focused on ending this embarrassing chapter of my life. I got to work drafting the divorce papers that would finally free me from my good-for-nothing husband. A month had passed without a word from Lester, but the time had come to serve him with the divorce papers. I wanted to see his face and his reaction when he knew I was being serious. So I got all dolled up, dressed nice and pretty, and headed out to their new home, which Wanda made sure to tell me about because it was in one of those rich people's neighborhoods. Pathetic. I wasn't just seeking closure, I was ready to embrace the beginning of a new self-empowered chapter. I rang the doorbell, and soon enough Lester came out of the house looking a bit stressed and worried, but once he saw me, I could see it clear as day, the look that cursed every stupid man that walked on the planet. Regret. Wow, you look... I've come to give you the divorce papers. Lester looked shocked. What? What are you talking about? I don't want to be with you, so I'm divorcing you. Hey, listen. You don't have to do that. I know things have been weird the past couple of months. Weird, Lester? You left me so that you could be with your mom at your grown age? You should be ashamed of yourself. I was trying to prove a point, okay? Well, I'm glad you got whatever you wanted out of this because we're done. Claudia, you're being delusional. Was what your mom said true about you wanting her to move in because you wanted what you couldn't have with me? A doting and submissive wife? One who is always cooking and cleaning? How could you ask me that? Did you only want me for my looks, my money? That's ridiculous. I could never. You know what? I don't even care. Have them signed ASAP. This shouldn't take too long because of the prenup, so please do the needful and I can be on my merry way. Lester started yapping about how he needed me and how he couldn't do this alone, which prompted me to ask, how are you affording this place anyway? And Lester went quiet, looking all sheepish and embarrassed like he normally would. After some moments of him struggling to find the words, Lester started spilling the beans. Because of our argument, the one where he lied to me, Lester got upset. He was mad because I wasn't speaking to him. So to teach me a lesson, he wanted to scare me by pretending to move out of the house with his mom, hoping that I'd fight for our relationship and start talking to him again. What an idiot. So when things didn't go according to plan, he quickly got himself a fancy place that he could barely afford. And when I looked at the place, it was decent. I'm not going to lie. Even when I pulled into the driveway, I felt intimidated. He started getting more and more panicky when he saw that I wasn't budging, saying that he didn't know how he was going to cover rent for the next month. I started laughing, and this pissed him off. He began begging and pleading for another chance. He said he couldn't survive without me, acknowledging how he messed up and how he learned his lesson. However, I had learned my lesson and wasn't about to fall for the same manipulative tactics. He kept trying to go back and forth with me, and I was forced to drop the papers at his feet and leave. 1 more month went by, and I was minding my own business when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Wanda's name, and I couldn't help but wonder what she could possibly want. I answered the call, only to be met with a tone of desperation and frustration in Wanda's voice. "Claudia, this fool, this moron, he's ruined everything. Please, you have to help me, please." "What's going on? Slow down." "Lester, he lied to me. He said he had the funds for this place, but we're only 2 months in and completely drained of cash. You have to help us." I couldn't help but laugh. Wanda didn't find this amusing, so she started calling me heartless and selfish, saying I was awful for not helping her mother-in-law and her husband. "Damn, he didn't tell you that either?" "Tell me what? What's going on?" "I dropped off the divorce papers a month ago. We're in the process of ending things, so I don't owe you anything." "What?" "He told me to call you and ask for help." He couldn't even face me himself. "Wanda, no offense, but you did a terrible job raising that man." Wanda started yelling at Lester in Spanish, and I couldn't get everything, but it wasn't rocket science to figure out that she was cursing that man out, probably regretting not getting her period when she was pregnant with him. I could hear him shouting back in the background, but she just wouldn't let him get a word in. He was in the wrong, and he needed to know it. I'm guessing Wanda forgot to hang up because the fight continued. I was considering getting some popcorn so that I could witness the chaos. It was crazy, you all. I heard dishes break and things being thrown. It sounded like a fight club on the other line. Finally, Wanda got back on the phone, panting. "Claudia, I know you don't owe us anything, but please..." "Stop right there, Wanda. Since day one, you've been awful to me. You called me all sorts of names and made me feel bad, and now you want me to help you? I know you only have 2 brain cells to rub together, but please think about that for a second and ask yourself if you think that's ever going to happen. But you and your son are some of the stupidest people I've ever met. Do me a favor and pretend that this marriage never even happened. I don't want it following me." "Claudia, wait. Oh, and good luck scrounging up money to pay for your rent." Then I hung up the phone. She tried calling me back, and when that wasn't working, she was texting. I blocked her. Revenge never felt so good, you all. I know she was punching the air and ripping her hair out. I was living peacefully in my house, enjoying my own company, and the people who made me suffer for the past couple of months were now panicking and were on the verge of being homeless. Funny how karma works, huh? Lester can't even be mad because he did this to himself. It was really such a shame, but I'm glad it's no longer my business. Good riddance. Hey lovely people, I'm Sherry, 26 female. Let me tell you, I've lived enough to feel like I'm pushing 50. I'm about to spill some family drama that's been going on in my life. I really hope you enjoy my story. I lost my parents pretty early. I barely have any memories of them. And I ended up playing foster care hopscotch like nobody's business. Turns out that no one wanted the kid with the severe childhood trauma, but okay. By the time I hit 15, I threw in the towel on the whole adoption thing. I figured I was too old for these people to actually care enough, so I spent most of my days alone and just thinking about the future and how I wanted my life to be. Survival mode kicked in. I had to figure out how to make it once I hit 18 and was therefore legally an adult. Life's a tough cookie, but I was ready to take a big old bite of it if it meant no longer being miserable in my room all the time. So I busted my hump, getting odd jobs in the neighborhood to squeeze out some extra pounds. I've always had nimble fingers, and people used to compliment me on how careful and precise I was. Probably would have become a neurosurgeon in another universe, but that couldn't be the case for me in this lifetime. Anyway, one day while playing around with colored beads and wires a friend had given me a light bulb flickered. It was time to dive into the jewelry biz. I mean, why not, right? I was making some pretty cute nose and ear cuffs, and I knew that I could do more if I had the right materials. Seemed like a wild, impossible dream at the time. But I stayed on the grind, refining my craft. Before I knew it, I was 17 years old and I was launching an Etsy store, slinging my dazzling creations to blokes all across the UK. I was basically ready to move out before I needed to, and I was so freaking proud of myself. I knew that I could take this thing to new heights. I mean, no one was doing what I was doing, and I had to latch onto capitalism's sweet teat if I was going to be retiring by 35. That's an exaggeration. Like I planned, so guess what I did? I worked even harder and smarter, proposing my business to potential investors, forcing myself through doors that were insisting on shutting me out and ear-lashing just anyone who would listen, really. It was rocky at first. I almost gave up, even before I was getting rejected a lot. But something inside of me told me to just keep pushing. Funnily enough, I found myself in the same room as people I used to watch on TV when my foster mum would put on Boston Legal and Suits. It almost felt like a fever dream. Because of my networking, I managed to catch the eye of a business investor who was coming from India. She wanted to tap into the jewelry market, and she told me that my work was cute and quaint. Even though I was crapping bricks, I managed to pitch my idea to her because I was determined to show her that I had what it took to become a force to be reckoned with. That go-getter attitude of mine, it worked like a charm, always landing me exactly what I wanted. And boy, did I hit the jackpot. I struck a killer deal with Claire, the Indian investor. This was the game changer. I could feel it in my stomach, the big break I'd been waiting for. But, of course, there's always a catch. She dropped the bomb. For the business to explode, I had to pack my bags and head to the good old US of A. It made sense to her. I mean, the lady lived there, but me? I was shitting bricks. It took a hot minute to wrap my head around it all, leaving everything I knew in Wales for the wild, wild west. It sounded like a stupid plot twist in a cheesy rom-com. But everyone I knew, all of my friends who were practically my siblings at this point, were all like, "Sherry, you have to take this chance and run with it." My foster mom looked me in the eyes and told me to go there and never look back. So on my 18th birthday, I found myself on a plane, getting lost in the clouds, questioning how life had taken such a wild turn at such a young age. I knew I was destined for great things because this just doesn't happen to anyone. The next 5 years spent hustling in the Big Apple, pushing my jewelry business far and wide, using social media, making a name for myself. Thanks to Claire, my investor extraordinaire, I was on the map in no time. I kept my hustle online, but now I was slinging my creations worldwide. Can you believe it? Excitement doesn't even begin to cover it. I was proud as heck of the woman I was becoming, thinking I could conquer the world. Like I said, 5 years had gone by and I was now at the golden age of 23. I found myself jetting off to Texas with one goal in mind: to skyrocket my jewelry business at a convention tailor-made for independent hustlers like yours. There I was, setting up my store and handing out some pamphlets, and then, as if scripted by the romance deities, I saw him, Bryce. Suited up, looking like he just stepped out of a fashion magazine. Sweaty hands and heart palpitations, oh, you bet. I had never felt this way before. It was crazy. Running a business since the tender age of 17 left my love life in the dust. I mean, I barely had the time. Texting friends back was a luxury, so going on dates was always a distant dream. I never opted to date, even casually, just because I didn't have the time and I didn't want my heart to be broken. Not very good for business. But seeing Bryce, it was like all those rational thoughts took a nosedive. Without a second thought, I found myself shuffling to his store. He didn't exactly give off the jewelry-making vibes. seemed more like he was the helping hand to a friend. I'll admit I was super shy and awkward at first. Yet, I managed to crack a smile and even a belly laugh from him. Score. We kept chit-chatting for a bit more, and in the end, he did the unexpected. He asked for my number. You wouldn't believe how excited I was when Bryce just wouldn't stop calling and texting. It was like I'd cast a love spell on him or something. Cloud nine? More like Sherry in the stratosphere. He went above and beyond, even flying to New York for our dates. Months of casual dating turned into something more, and Bryce was ticking all the boxes: charming, sweet, kind, and most importantly, madly in love with me. So when he dropped the big question after 3 amazing years of being with him, I was over the moon. Cabo was where it all happened, on my birthday, with roses and a heartfelt proposal. Tears, the kind that's so unlike me, just flowed. Bryce had this way of turning the right cogs, making me feel soft and loved. We finished up the birthday and proposal celebrations, and we were soon after on our way from Cabo to Texas, ready to share our joy with his family. I was nervous as anyone would be, but I had even more cause for concern because of a certain someone who didn't seem to like me. Babe, are you sure your mom's going to be okay with this? Sherry, I promise you she'll love it. But you know how she acts when I'm around. She's just being a bit overprotective, you know. After all, I am her son. I know. It's just, she scares me, you know. I understand, babe, but I know her, trust me. All of that passive-aggressive crap she was doing is going to melt away the moment she sees that ring on your finger. She'll know for sure that I'm being serious and that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Okay, babe, I believe you, I guess. A couple of days after settling back into Texas, there I was, stomach churning, seated at my soon-to-be mother-in-law's dinner table. Elnora had no clue about the storm brewing within me, and she carried on with her usual treatment. She was the nice, nasty Regina George type, always looking for an excuse to bully me without any real reason. At first, I thought it was just the typical hostility you get from in-laws out of protection and care, but that wasn't the case. Growing up in foster care didn't exactly expose me to different personality types. I used to think people like her only existed in the movies. Boy, was I wrong. She had this art of poking and prodding, just enough to feign innocence when called out for her rude and weird behavior. I'd always been a bit of a kiss-ass despite it, though, hoping she'd warm up to me and that I could kill her with kindness. But gradually, I caught on to the fact that if I was going to play this game, I would lose every time. The lady just didn't like me, but she sure knew how to cloak her aggressiveness in passive behavior. So, how was your birthday trip to Cabo? Oh, it was wonderful. I wasn't asking you. Oh. I'm just pulling your leg, Sherry. Of course I was asking you. You're the birthday girl, after all. How old are you again? Pushing 30 now, huh? Mom, stop it, please. Oh, Sherry knows that we're just joking, right, Sherry? Never mind that. Tell me all about it. God, I wish I tagged along. I could use a vacation. Cabo was perfect, Mom, and what made it even more perfect is the fact that Sherry had said yes to something I had been thinking about for a while now. Oh, what was it? Did you ask her to get that nose job I've been talking about? Seriously, Elnora? Oh, hush, you're so sensitive. Don't keep me waiting any longer. What's going on with you two? Bryce looked at me, a silent cue to spill the news, and I slowly pulled up my hand to show her the ring. His face lit up with obvious joy, while I was still a bit nervous, waiting to see how his mother would react. As for Elnora, her reaction was harder to pick apart. She just stared at us blankly, seemingly processing everything. After an awkward silence that felt like ages, Bryce, unable to contain his excitement, asked his mom if she was okay. Then, unexpectedly, Elnora burst into laughter. We exchanged confused looks, wondering what was going on in her mind. She started talking about how we got her good and warned us not to pull pranks at the dinner table. And this is when Bryce's mood took a sharp turn. He got super pissed at his mom. He yelled, questioning why she couldn't take anything seriously. He told her that a normal mother would be happy for her kid instead of laughing and passing it off as some joke. Elnora, looking desperate, tried to cover her tracks, claiming she was just overwhelmed by the news and that she was actually quite happy for both of us. Yeah, right. As if I wasn't surprised already, Bryce dropped a bombshell. And another thing, I don't think I'd have to say this, but considering how you're acting, I might need to, just so we're on the same page. Bryce, honey, I didn't mean to upset you. I was just... Let me finish. The way you've been treating Sherry is disgusting, and since she's my fiancée and soon-to-be wife, we'll both be expecting changed behavior. Oh, come on, Bryce. Aren't you being a bit too irrational? I told you. This is how Sherry and I joke, right, Sherry? Actually, Elnora, I've always had an issue with the way you speak to me. You talk down at me like I'm your lackey or a peasant, and I don't like it. I don't like it either. I just wanted to say that we would appreciate it if you started treating her with respect. Wow, I don't know what to say. How about I'm sorry? I apologize, Sherry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was shocked when Elnora actually apologized to me. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. All I needed was an apology and changed behavior, and I was convinced that we could have a blast and be a big happy family, something I never got the chance to have on my own. Dinner went on surprisingly well after that awkward encounter. Elnora wasn't rude to us at all, and we were chumming it up like we were old buddies. It was great. After dinner, Elnora found me in the kitchen tidying up and putting some dishes away. Hey, that pie was delicious, by the way. You're going to have to send me that recipe ASAP. Listen here, you little brat. I don't know what you told my son and where he got the idea that he could speak to me that way, but I'll be damned if I let an orphan wedge her way between us. Elnora, what are you talking about? You think you're so smart, don't you? Coming into our lives and turning everything upside down. Why don't you just go back to your little country with your tea and crumpets and leave us alone? You know what? This one's on me. I should have known that was a BS apology. You think I'd ever apologize to you? You've got another thing coming, and if you know what's good for you, you'll break up with Bryce. Why? So that you can get a chance with him? Newsflash, Elnora, he is your son. I don't know what kind of drugs you've been smoking, but he is a grown man, and he is in love with me, and I'm in love with him. So I'm not going anywhere. You just want him for his money. You're nothing but a gold-digging leech. For the millionth time, Elnora, I don't care about your son's money. I have my own. You'd know that if you cared enough about my business. Why would I care about your crappy handmade jewelry? I'm not a poor orphan. You're disgusting. Maybe, but at least I'm not a gold digger. You're just one of his playthings. I'll admit he's never proposed to anyone before, but I know that this isn't serious. He'll kick you to the curb when he's done with you. We'll see about that. After Elnora showed me her true colors, I decided not to tell Bryce about it. You might be wondering why. Well, to be honest, I didn't want to ruin his relationship with his mother. As someone who didn't have one, I knew that exposing the truth would put a huge damper on their relationship. Nobody should have to lose a mother. In any way, I thought that it would be better to protect him from the truth. I decided that I was going to fight this battle myself, and that's what I did. Months of wedding planning went by, and of course Elnora was inserting herself into the wedding plans like a true bridezilla. Bryce and I tried to be nice, letting her know time and time again that it was our wedding and not hers, but she wouldn't budge. She was trying to pick out all the colors, decorations, our invites, everything. It's like she wanted her hand in every single decision. I was getting fed up, which was compounded by the fact that I knew Elnora's true colors. Bryce was so sweet and kind to me. always reassuring me that we just had to get through the wedding day, and then we would have the rest of our lives to be with each other. We can even move if you want to. I just want to be with you. I know, babe. Your mom is just a bit much to handle. I know, but you know, she's older, she's set in her ways, and I don't think she knows what she's doing. Oh, I'm sure she's well aware. What was that? Oh, nothing. Let's just get this wedding show on the road. About 6 months went by, and both Bryce and I were basically prepped and ready to walk down the aisle. Elnora and I had been arguing behind the scenes, of course, and she was getting more and more cagey and desperate when she realized that I was serious about marrying her son and I wouldn't budge. I was living in it, though. It made me happy knowing how desperate she was getting. Bryce was still none the wiser, and I was glad I was able to keep this heartbreaking secret from him. 2 nights before my wedding, Elnora called me and told me that she had something important to say. Well, looks like you've done it. If by done it, you mean putting months of hard work into planning my dream wedding with my dream man, then yes, I have done it. You might have fooled him, but you still haven't fooled me. I know you're only with him for his money, which is why I'm demanding a prenup. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious, Sherry. You can marry my son, but let's see who you'll be when none of his money is involved. I just about had it at that point. She was hell-bent on making me look like the bad guy, and so I decided that I was going to give her exactly what she wanted. Okay, Elnora. What? I said okay. If this will prove to you that I don't want your son's money, then we can do a prenup. Oh, that was easier than expected, but I know you're probably planning and plotting something. At least you won't have his money. She hung up the call, and I started chuckling to myself, refusing to believe that Elnora was a real human being with a real human heart. Now, you all might be wondering how my business was doing after all these years, and let me just say that retiring at 35 might have originally been a joke, but it was now becoming a really big possibility for me. God had been so kind to me, allowing for my business to boom like this. I spent most of my days chilling at home, being a housewife because I had nothing better to do. My jewelry continued to sell like hotcakes, especially with the rise of the boho hippie aesthetic that a lot of Gen Z and millennials are now getting into. I had a net worth of $500,000, and I was only getting better with time. Bryce was always telling me how proud he was of me, defying all the odds and ending up where I was. He didn't mind at all that I made more money than him, and he said that one day he'd be just like me, chilling at home so that we could spend some more time together. The next day, after Elnora called me for the prenup, she came over to discuss the arrangement. Not too surprising. I mean, she was there for every other aspect of the wedding planning. It's like we couldn't get a break. Naturally, because we were discussing finances, Bryce and I had our bank account details opened up on our laptops so that we could practice our financial hygiene and budget some last-minute things for the wedding. Elnora arrived, being her fake nice self as always. When I mentioned the prenup to Bryce, he was a bit taken aback, but he respected my wishes, especially when I told him that the suggestion came from his mother. Like I said, Bryce didn't mind at all, so our meeting went well. After some time, he had to leave because he had some business to tend to, as well as seeing a lawyer about setting up the prenup officially, leaving me and my mother-in-law alone in the house. Elnora started laughing, saying that she ruined my plans, but I just rolled my eyes at her. I was closing my tabs, getting ready to go back to my office and tend to my own business, when Elnora turned pale all of a sudden. What's the matter? Are you sick? Oh, nothing. I just thought I saw something. Must be my eyes playing a trick on me. What did you see? Oh, never mind it. I just thought that I saw 5 figures in your bank account. Silly me. How could someone like you have that much money? I just laughed for a bit as I reopened the tab to show her that her eyes weren't playing any tricks on her. Sure enough, my bank account balance was showing $650,000, and to add insult to injury, I had just received some orders which were totaling an additional $10,000 from my business. When I looked at her face, it looked like she had seen a ghost. She started stuttering and stammering, acting like a damn fool. But how? What? Since when? How's this even possible? You should really start taking an interest in your in-laws' businesses. You always thought that I wasn't making enough money, but you'd be shocked to know I have more money than your own son. Maybe the prenup thing wasn't such a bad idea. I love Bryce, and God forbid anything happens, but with money like this, it's always smart to protect my assets, so really, I should be thanking you. No, Sherry, you've got it all wrong. The prenup was a bad idea. What sort of marriage has prenups anyway? You two will be fighting all the time. It's a bad idea. Oh, please, you're only changing your tune now because you saw my bank account. What? How could you accuse me of that? That has nothing to do with this. Okay, so you don't mind the prenup then? Of course I do. It was a bad idea. We should undo it. I'm sure there's still time. Let me call Bryce. Save it. The prenup is staying. You never cared about us, did you? Why don't you want to let the prenup go? You were fine with not having a prenup until last night. Why are you being so stubborn? True, but like I said, you've opened my eyes. I'm sorry, Elnora, but I want to save myself from a gold digger. Yeah, doesn't feel so nice when the tables are turned, huh? But I guess that's just how karma works. Elnora was having a really tough time processing how serious I was about the prenup, but she eventually left my home in a huff and a puff. The next day was my wedding day, of course, and Bryce had informed me and some close friends, including Elnora, before walking down the aisle, that the prenup had been officialized. My wedding was a blast, and what made it even sweeter was catching glimpses of my scowling mother-in-law. She was not having a good time because she knew that she made the biggest mistake of her life asking for that prenup. Karma sucks. Hey guys, my name is Ashley and I'm 29 years old. Buckle up because I've got a wild tale to share about the time I got myself into a sticky situation by marrying the ultimate mama's boy. So there I was, getting to know Hunter, my now husband. At first, I thought he just had a really close relationship with his mom. You know, the kind where they share everything and he seeks her advice on life decisions. It seemed sweet at the time, right? Little did I know I was signing up for more than I bargained for. Hunter, God love him, was a kind, sweet guy, but when it came to his mom, let's just say he was glued at the hip. At first, I brushed it off because, hey, who doesn't love their mom? Little did I know this mama's boy thing was about to take on a whole new level. When we took the plunge and moved in together, that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. Melinda, and this habit of dropping by unannounced, and it was never for a casual cup of tea. Nope. It was to inspect my cooking, criticize my cleaning, and drop not so subtle hints that I wasn't up to par for her precious son. There was this one time she flat out suggested that Hunter should move back in with her. I mean, seriously? And the fireplace? When did you dust this place last? Literally yesterday. So why is it so dusty? Please show me where the dust is, because at this point I think you're seeing things. Mum, our place is clean. We do a good job. We take turns cleaning, obviously. Ha. How pathetic. If Hunter was with me, I wouldn't let him lift a finger. He's my precious baby angel. How could he do any household chores? Hunter? Seriously? Yeah, I mean, it's true. She wouldn't make me do any of this. Wow. Make you? I know your mom is always kissing your ass, but doing housework is always a team effort. Ugh. Are you going to let her talk to you that way? You know what? You're better off moving back with me. What? She clearly doesn't care about you. You need to come back to me. So after Melinda said that crap about wanting Hunter to move back in with her, I was seriously on the fence about continuing this relationship. I couldn't deal with the mama's boy drama. It was wreaking havoc on my mental health, and I definitely wasn't signing up for that kind of family dynamic. When Hunter proposed the first time, I had to hit the brakes. There were way too many red flags, and we needed to sit down and have a serious talk. He took the rejection like a trooper, and we decided to take a break to figure things out. We promised to reconvene and hash out the details at a later time. When the time came, I laid it all out for him. I spilled my concerns about his unhealthy attachment to his mom, how it was making me uncomfortable, and that we needed to set some boundaries if we were going to make this work. I flat out told him that if he continued to be weird with his mom and act like the super obsessive mama's boy, as well as excusing his mom's weird behavior, then I couldn't be with him. Surprisingly, Hunter had a moment of clarity. I think our time apart had also knocked some sense into him. I realized he didn't want to lose me, and he agreed to put some distance between himself and his mom, and agreed with my boundaries. Now, Melinda wasn't too thrilled about this new arrangement. She even threatened not to come to our wedding if Hunter dared to enforce those boundaries. We tried to reason with her, but she took it super personally that I told her son to cut the umbilical cord. The texts I got from her were nasty, wishing all sorts of bad things my way just so she could have her baby back. But I stood my ground. I told her that she should be happy for her son, that he'd found someone to love. Maybe she thought he'd need her forever, but it was time for a reality check. Our wedding day arrived, and surprisingly, Melinda made an appearance, but her body language screamed displeasure. She refused to take pictures, avoided the food, and sat in a corner sulking while everyone else was turning up and celebrating. Frankly, I would have preferred if she hadn't shown up at all with that attitude. Her behavior got on my nerves, and it worried Hunter too. He still cared deeply for his mom, and seeing her like this bothered him. It was understandable. Our wedding might not have been the picture-perfect dream, but it was a good day overall. On our wedding night, Hunter and I had a heart-to-heart about everything. He showed me his genuine concern for his mom, admitting he'd never seen her act this way. It was then I decided I needed to make an effort to mend bridges. Hunter was excited about the idea, hopeful that things would work out. Little did we know what was in store. "Don't worry, everything's going to work out just fine." "Thanks, babe. I'm sure she'll appreciate the effort." "Let's hope so." After a couple of weeks, I decided to reach out to my mother-in-law for a heart-to-heart, and to my surprise, she was somewhat receptive to everything. While she wasn't jumping for joy, she didn't look like she wanted to gouge my eyes out either, so I considered it a win. I told her that I didn't appreciate how possessive she was over her son and how it was affecting our relationship. She seemed to understand where I was coming from when I asked her to put herself in my shoes, and I was so glad at how well she was taking everything. She then told me that for the longest time it was just her and Hunter. Their dad was out of the picture when Hunter turned 5, and so sometimes she doesn't know how to let go when she needs to. I was so happy because we finally seemed to find some middle ground. She promised to try and keep the peace with me, and I promised the same. I appreciated her effort, and for a brief moment I thought we were on the path to a normal relationship. Oh, how wrong I was. Her niceness only lasted about a month. A month! Slowly but surely, she began to be passive-aggressive towards me. She'd invite Hunter out and exclude me, whereas before, she'd happily take both of us to her favorite cafes and restaurants. It was starting to grate on my nerves, so I decided to talk to Hunter about it. "Hunter, I've had it up to here with your mom." "I know. She said that she'd do better, but these things take time." "I know that, but I think it's deliberate. I mean, she was actually being nice for a month, so she can be nice. So why change all of a sudden?" "I don't know. Healing can be a journey with a lot of bumps on the road, you know. Just be a bit more patient with her, please. Fine. I've been chatting you up to her, you know. I've been telling her about how amazing you are. Don't worry, she's going to come around soon enough. Just wait and see. Just like Hunter told me, I decided to wait it out. I continued to hold up my end of the bargain, always being nice to her and including her in my plans, but it was never reciprocated. By the time Hunter and I were celebrating our 1-year anniversary, I was done trying to appease her. I even warned Hunter not to be surprised if I wasn't happy when she was around. It just felt so unfair, the way she was treating me. Hunter started to notice how bad it was getting, and whenever he clocked Melinda's passive-aggressive comments towards me, he would tell her to stop. She'd get really mad, accusing Hunter of disrespecting her, but he was just sticking up for me. I felt bad for him because I could see how conflicted he was feeling. But I was conflicted too. I just didn't understand why his mother was so obsessed with making me feel like crap. Then the day of our wedding anniversary came, and boy, was that a doozy. You see, Melinda made a huge point to get Hunter a specific present, but she said she couldn't get me anything. This was the last straw, and I was on the verge of fighting her. I started yelling at her, asking her what her problem was and why she hated me so much. This was the last straw, and I was on the verge of fighting her. I started yelling at her, asking her what her problem was and why she hated me so much. Hunter tried to stop me, but it was too late. What are you talking about? Why are you yelling at me? Because you're crazy. Hunter, you need to put a muzzle on your wife before I do. Everyone, please, let's calm down. How do you only get your son a present, not even a present we can both enjoy, and you forget about me? What is wrong with you? I don't owe you anything. You're just mad because you wish it was you who married your son and not me, huh? You're the one who wished you walked down the aisle. Just because your man left you, it doesn't mean that you can try and steal mine. Ashley, that's enough. No, Hunter. I'm sick of this shit. Your mom has been pissing me off and I can't take it anymore. I'm done. I love you, but I can't do this. I grabbed my keys and headed to the car that Hunter and I shared. I was driving aimlessly for a couple of hours, ignoring both Hunter and Melinda's calls. I just needed some time to clear my head. When I finally returned home that night, I found Hunter sitting by the door. He looked like he was crying. I felt so bad, but I needed to do what was right for me. Right when I was about to tell him that we needed to get a divorce, he told me something shocking. Babe, you're home. Oh my God, I was so worried. Please, before you say anything, I need to tell you what I did. I cut my mom out of my life. You what? I cut her out. Right when you left, we got into a really bad fight, and well, I told her that I couldn't be her son anymore. I told her that I choose you. Every single day I'll choose you. From here on out, she's not going to disrespect you. I swear it on everything. As long as I'm breathing, I'll make sure to protect you from her. I'm so sorry for how much she's hurt you, and I'm sorry for not being a better husband. I want to make things right between us. Please say you'll forgive me. I didn't even know what to say. I was speechless. He started breaking down again, and my heart was melting all over again. Baby, I love you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of this. Babe, I swear, she will never bother us again. Please don't let us go. After Hunter's beautiful apology, I decided to stay. I mean, who wouldn't? He seemed to be very serious. I had never met someone willing to cut off their family for me, and I wasn't about to turn this type of love down. It was complete radio silence from Melinda's end, though. Unsurprisingly, she hadn't called or texted or even apologized. She had left the home hours ago, and when I checked, it seemed like she had blocked me, while she was still texting Hunter and begging for his forgiveness. Hunter said he wanted to block her, but I told him not to. For some reason at that moment I was feeling a bit bad for her. She had already lost her son, and I didn't want her to lose complete contact with him. So I told him not to block her. But I wish I told him to, because maybe I wouldn't have ended up in this mess. You see, A month had gone by, and that was the most peaceful month of our marriage. Without Melinda bothering us, Hunter and I were happier than ever. Then all of a sudden, I got a call from Melinda. Hunter and I were together in the kitchen when we saw my phone ring. He told me not to answer it, but I said that I had to because it might be important. Even though Hunter hadn't blocked his mom, he was definitely ignoring her calls and texts. I assumed that it had to be something serious if she had to call me. Oh, thank goodness you picked up. I was getting so worried. Melinda, are you okay? Well, no, I haven't heard from you two in a month, and I'm worried sick about you two. Even me? Look, Ashley, I wanted to tell you I'm so sorry for everything. I know I've been unkind to you. I didn't just call you to check in. I wanted to tell you. I got you a present. Really? Yes. It was quite a rotten thing of me to do, excluding you like that, so consider this an apology for everything. That's really thoughtful of you, Melinda. I appreciate you taking accountability. So, what did you get me? Well, I got you a car. A car? Oh, Melinda, you didn't have to do that. Nonsense. It was the least I could do. You've really been patient with me when I didn't deserve it. And so for that, I think a car would do you good. Besides, it's time you two stop sharing that car. Hunter can have the old one and you can have this one. Wow, Mom. I don't know what to say. That's really big of you. Hunter? You're speaking with me? How much of this did you hear? I was here for the whole thing. I kept quiet because I wanted to see if you really had changed, and it seems like you have. You don't know how happy this makes me. We need to all sit down for some tea and catch up one of these days. Thank you for giving me another chance. Hold on, Melinda. I appreciate the gesture, like I said, but please know that all isn't forgiven and forgotten just yet. Unfortunately, you can't buy my forgiveness, but being thoughtful and getting us something we can actually use, that's a start. Of course, Ashley, I understand. Thank you so much for picking up my call. You two won't regret it. I'll make sure I'm on my best behavior. Melinda told us that she was on her way to drop the car at our house and give us the keys. And when she arrived in the Kia, I was so pumped. It was such a cute car, and she chose the orange color, which was my favorite. We chummed it up for a bit as best we could because things were a bit awkward still. Hunter and I were thanking her because buying someone a car is no small thing. She was very sheepish and cautious with everything, knowing that she was on thin ice already, so she kept the conversations calm and cute. She didn't overstay her welcome like she normally did. She even left a bit early, telling us she wanted to get out of our hair. But while she was here, she told me time and time again that I should go for a test drive. When I said that I would do it later, she was insisting I did it that moment. She told me that the car needed gas anyways and that I could just take it to the gas station real quick and come back. When I said that they should both come with me, for some reason she was saying that I should be the only one in the car. Ashley, this car is yours. You're the one who needs to break it in. I mean, you need a solo ride in it, you know. Oh, a solo ride sounds fun, but why don't we all go? We can all get some snacks at the gas station and come back here for... No, dear, don't worry about all that. You need to go, alone. Why does she need to go alone, Ma? It's already late. Why don't we do this tomorrow? Oh, come on. You don't want to drive it now. I thought you'd be a bit more appreciative. I am, trust me, but why are you being so weird about this? You know what? Forget I said anything. Sorry, you guys. I've just been a bit overwhelmed. You don't have to do it tonight, but Ashley, promise me that first thing in the morning you'll take it out for a test drive. For sure. I'll even send you pictures. Well then, I should be off. Already? What's new? I have some important business I need to tend to. Good night, you two. Take care. And Ashley, don't forget to test drive the car tomorrow, alone. Sure. Get home safe, okay? When Melinda got in her Uber and went home, Hunter and I talked about how weird she was being. I think it was all the excitement of getting a new car that made us not think about it too much, chalking up her behavior to her just being a bit awkward from how things ended last time. Although we were excited, we were both exhausted because we had super busy days, so Hunter and I agreed to go for a lovely scenic drive in the car the next day before stopping somewhere for brunch. When I woke up the next morning, I found Hunter gone. He left a note and told me that he had taken the car to get filled up on gas so that we could go straight for our lovely drive. He was always being such a gentleman, telling me that no woman should fill up her own tank, so I was used to him taking the car to get it filled up. So I was waiting for him to get back home when I got a call from him instead. "Hey, babe, what's going on?" "Babe, we have a situation. I crashed the car." "What? Are you okay? What the hell happened?" "I'm okay, babe. Don't worry. I managed to swerve into a tree. I wasn't going that fast, so I'm fine." "Thank God for that. But what are you talking about? The same car that your mom gifted me yesterday?" "Yes, Ashley, keep up." "I'm sorry, I'm just so shocked. I can't believe it. How did this happen? Was there someone acting crazy on the road?" "No, the roads were empty. It was the brakes. They weren't working." "What? How is that even possible?" "That's not all. I checked and the brake pads are unscrewed." "What? What does that mean?" "It means that whoever did this wanted someone dead. That's what that means." "What? You can't be serious. Are you saying—" "Yep. And do you remember how she wanted only you to drive the car?" "No way. There's no way your mom would try and do that to me." "I told you not to answer the call. That woman is not okay." "What are we going to do?" "She needs to be reported for her crimes." "What? You can't be serious." "Ashley, she tried to kill you. Do you not see how serious this is?" "I hate that you're right. I'm just in so much shock right now." "Let's get started." "On what?" "On taking her down." Hunter and I decided that we needed to put that lady behind bars because Hunter was able to identify that the brake pads were loosened. We had a strong case against her, as well as all of the house camera footage of her yelling at me and treating me like crap in our home. I even took screenshots of some of our conversations so that the police could have enough evidence to arrest her. While Hunter was calling the police so that they could arrive at the scene, I was collecting as much evidence as I could. When I was done, I got in the other car and met him at the location he sent me. When I got there, I found Hunter and the police at the scene, and I told them my side of the story as well. The police told us that with all the evidence we had, as well as clearly seeing that the brakes had been tampered with, they had enough to arrest her. Hunter and I were so pissed, especially Hunter. I mean, that was his mom, and one wrong move and he could have died. We decided to drive to Melinda's house so that we could lead the police to her as well as witness her being taken down. Hunter was so pissed. He was muttering things under his breath the whole ride there. I decided to drive because I could tell he was really shaken up. I wanted blood. That woman was going to pay. When we arrived at Melinda's, she came outside because she could hear the police sirens. She asked what was going on, and both Hunter and I got out of the car. When she saw our faces, she immediately began to panic and tried to run for it. But she was too slow, and Hunter had caught up to her, and he had to hold his mother to prevent her from running. The police were arresting her and were reading her rights when she was sobbing. "How could you two do this to me?" "We should be the ones asking you that. What the hell is wrong with you?" "You thought we wouldn't find out?" "Hunter, please." "You're a horrible human being and you deserve nothing. You could have killed us." "Wait, I can explain." "Save it for the judge. We're going to sue you for everything you own and then send you to jail for attempted murder." "What? You can't do this to me. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to do it." "Like I said, save it for the judge." "Hunter, please, you're not going to send your own mother to jail, are you?" "I knew I should have never let you back into our lives. You're a sick woman. But don't worry, you'll fit right in with where you're heading." I couldn't believe that my mother-in-law was really willing to kill me, all because I told her to stop acting weird with her son. She seriously needed some help. I'm currently in the process of getting my money from the lawsuit, and she's set to stand trial in July, so we'll see what happens from there. She hasn't been granted bail, so every night she has to sleep on the cold, dark cell floor like the criminal she truly is. Serves her right. Hi everyone, I'm Lefa, 23, female. So let me tell you about this wild day that went down in my life not too long ago. About 2 years back, I made the big move to the good old USA from Switzerland. My goal? To chase my dream of becoming a model in LA. You know, the land of opportunity and all that jazz. Fast forward to the day that changed everything for me. I found myself on set doing a photo shoot for a calendar company. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Enter Earl, one of the photographers. Sparks started flying, and we couldn't help but flirt up a storm. I swear to you, everyone in the room can tell you just how undeniable our chemistry actually was. As the day went on, we found ourselves getting some coffee together during breaks, sharing stories and laughing like we'd known each other forever. Earl had this charm, that easygoing attitude that was both refreshing and exciting for a Swiss girl like me. So after the photo shoot, Earl and I found ourselves, well, dating. Now, I'm not one to rush things, so I just went with the flow, seeing where this unexpected journey would take us. Surprisingly, everything was falling into place like dominoes. Earl was not only my romantic interest, but also a huge help in boosting my career. Life felt like a rom-com, and I was all in. To take things up a notch, I decided to bring Earl to Switzerland to meet my family. It was a big step, and I was convinced this was heading towards something serious. This was when we were about 6 months into the relationship. My family loved Earl. Honestly, maybe they loved him a bit too much. They were treating him like a king, and I couldn't be happier. Now it was my turn. We were going to meet his family, and that's where everything took a wild turn. I naively assumed his family would welcome me with open arms, just like mine did for him. Oh boy, was I wrong. Turns out Earl's family tree was down to one branch, his mom. And she? Well, let's just say she bore a striking resemblance to Mrs. Trunchbull from Matilda, both in looks and her charming personality. I decided that I was going to bring some of my family's favorite rosti to butter her up. But when she answered the door on us, I had this sudden feeling that everything was going to go completely wrong. I could see the disapproval written all over Elise's face. I was thinking, is she allergic to Swiss people or something? She barely said hello before launching into questioning me about my background, my family, everything in between. Hell, she had barely invited us inside. Earl had to force us in there almost. Earl had warned me that his mom could be a bit much, but this was a whole new level. I tried to keep my cool, answering her questions with a smile, but inside I was growing more uneasy by the minute. The woman was strict, stern, and had a knack for making you feel like you were in a boot camp rather than a family dinner. Meeting her was like entering a whole new level of a relationship, one that I hadn't signed up for. So, Lefa, is it from Switzerland, huh? What brings you to our little corner of the world? Yes, it's Lefa. I moved here because I'm an aspiring model, and what better place to pursue that than LA? France, for example? Oh, well, yes, but I had heard so many amazing things about America growing up. I just had to come here. I met Earl during a photo shoot, and things just took off from there. Well, I hope you've got more to offer than just a pretty face. Earl, don't you think you could do better? Mom, come on, let's not do this, please. I understand your concerns, Elise. Modeling is my passion, but I also have a degree in business studies, and I plan to explore various opportunities with that, especially with my modeling career. Oh, how impressive! A model with a backup plan. Earl, did you know about this? Mom, Leffer's ambitions are what attracted me to her. She's smart and driven. And what about family values, Leffer? What can you offer my son in terms of a real stable home life? I believe that love and understanding are the foundations of any strong family. Earl and I are building something special, and I have no doubt we'll do a great job. Love and understanding. We'll see how long that pays the bills. Mom, stop. What matters is that we love each other. I appreciate your concern, Elise. I know relationships can be challenging, but I'm committed to making this work. I love your son with all my heart. We'll see, won't we? I just hope you're not wasting my son's time. I soon realized that getting her approval wasn't going to be a walk in the park. She had such huge expectations, and they were higher than the Swiss Alps. The more I tried to win her over, the more she seemed to find fault in everything I did. It was like she had a checklist and I was failing miserably. I thought that I could get back on her good side, thinking that our first meet-up was a fluke. So I told Earl that we had to meet up as much as possible so that she could start warming up to me. Earl agreed and told me that that sounded like a good idea, so he asked for another dinner party and Elise agreed. We all sat down for dinner, thinking everything would be fine, but boy, were we wrong. Elise really let loose this time. She started critiquing everything I did, what I wore, to my table manners, which were both perfect, by the way. She's just a hater. I felt like I was on a reality TV show and she was the judge tearing me apart for views and giggles. Earl was doing his best to diffuse this tension, but it seemed like every attempt he made only fueled the fire. Elise was relentless, and I couldn't understand why she was so against me. After an excruciating dinner, Earl pulled me aside, apologizing for his mom's behavior. He told me that he loved me and didn't care about any of the nonsense Elise was going on about. He had told me that everything was going to work out just fine, but this didn't calm my nerves one bit. I was always good with my boyfriend's parents, so why were things so hard with this lady? I would complain about it every time Elise would say something mean about me in the family group chat. And one day, I guess Earl was tired of covering for his mom's crappy behavior, and he just let it all out. Earl, I don't understand. What did I do to your mom? Why does she seem to hate me so much? What's going on? I don't want to sound like a broken record, but she said something snarky on the group again. Oh, God, what did she say? She said I looked quite large in my profile picture. Honestly, bold of her to say anything when she looks like that. Hey. Well, it's the truth. I'm sick of her treating me like crap. I haven't done anything but be kind to her. I just don't know what I did wrong. It's not you, Leffer, it's her. She's always been difficult, especially when it comes to women, particularly pretty, tall, blonde women just like you. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Well, I can say that she's always been a bit envious, I guess, of prettier women. Really? Why? Growing up, she felt overshadowed by her younger sister, who, I guess, was the poster child for all things beautiful. I mean, they put my Aunt Maud in all sorts of pageants, and my grandparents would always favor her over my mom. Yikes. Yeah, it wasn't good from what my Uncle Damien told me. Maud and my mom had a rocky relationship because of all the comparing, and that resentment might have carried over, I guess. So she dislikes me because I'm tall and blonde, is that it? Partly. She sees you succeeding in the modeling world, and I think it brings back memories of all the crap she went through with her sister. It's like history repeating itself, I guess. I really didn't think that she would hate you because of that, but with the way things are going, I guess it's not completely crazy to believe that that might be the case. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Elise hated me because I was tall, pretty, and blonde? It seems so weird and unnatural. How can you hate someone because they're beautiful? After the initial shock and anger, I felt a bit of sympathy for her. I guess I was finally acknowledging my pretty privilege and all of the things it got me in life. Imagine going through life not feeling pretty enough or even at all, and being treated differently because of that. It was so stupid. And I hated that under all that anger was just a sad and insecure woman who needed a bit of tender loving care. So I decided to make things right. I told Earl that I would try even harder to meet up with her, and that this time we would do a lot of fun, girly things. I thought it would have been nice to heal her inner child just a bit by doing girly things like going to the spa or getting our nails done or shopping for shoes and bags, a little retail therapy. I've always felt prettiest when I gussy myself up, and so I thought she'd appreciate the gesture and get a chance at feeling beautiful. Despite my trying to reach out and tell her about the plans I've made for us, Elise remained unresponsive, leaving me on read and making any connection seem like pulling teeth. After about 3 months of trying, I decided to give up. I wasn't going to force a grown woman to be my friend. When I told Earl that I was trying and failing at being a good daughter-in-law, he completely understood, reminding me it wasn't my responsibility to boost her self-esteem. Earl noticed my disappointment, so he whisked me away on a staycation to this really bougie resort. The surprise continued when I entered our hotel room, and it was covered with rose petals and pink balloons. There, Earl dropped to one knee and proposed. Of course I said yes. I was so happy. Just when I thought that things were crumbling around me, my man was there to support me and to prove to me that despite his mother acting like a cow, he would stick beside me and love me forever. Our weekend getaway was magical, and I wished I could stay there forever. But unfortunately, we had to make our way back home when it was all over. When we returned home and announced our engagement, Elise's reaction was less than enthusiastic. She called Earl, telling him that there was still time to call off the engagement. "What on earth are you thinking? Have you lost your mind? Is she with you right now?" "Yes, Elise, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I know you hate me, but I love your son and nothing is going to change. I'm done with trying to be kind to you. Come to the wedding if you want to. I don't care." "Oh, did you hear the way she was speaking to me? And you want to marry that? You better hear me, Earl. If you get married to her, Earl cut the call, not wanting to hear any more of her rambling. We spent the rest of the night choosing cake decorations for our wedding. A couple more months passed and Earl and I were gearing up for our big day. Wedding planning went smoothly thanks to the support from my modeling agency. They were thrilled to help us out with some decorations and catering. Honestly, without them, I wouldn't know if my wedding would have turned out as great as it did. Finally, the actual day had arrived and there was something magical in the air. Everyone and everything was in order, just how I liked it. I had always dreamt of this day, and I made it clear to everyone involved that I needed this day to be something to remember. Earl and I shared a moment behind a screen door. We were holding hands and closing our eyes and saying, I love yous, before we were meant to go out and get married. Despite my excitement, I couldn't ignore my scowling mother-in-law in the dressing room. She looked like she had eaten some lemons and didn't want to wash her mouth out. When Earl left to finish off getting ready, my bridesmaids and I, some fellow models, were having a great time. We had about 1 hour left till showtime, and that was when the other shoe dropped. Suddenly, Elise started screaming, ruining our happiness. "The ring! Where is it?" My heart sank when I saw her holding an empty ring box, the one meant for my beautiful pink wedding ring. Panic set in. I started hyperventilating and my bridesmaids were trying to calm me down, but nothing was working. Elise then suggested that they go and look for the ring. They all immediately rushed out to go look for the ring, all the while telling me not to worry, but how could I not? They left me alone in the dressing room, desperately trying to calm my nerves. I was too panicked to notice that Elise was still in the room, and now she was smirking. Oh dear, it seems your little pink ring has gone missing. I'm not in the mood for your BS, Elise. My ring is missing on the one day it matters most, and we only have an hour till the ceremony. What if they don't find it? I hate to pour salt on your wound, sweetie, but let me assure you, they won't find it. And why is that, Elise? So that you can sit and laugh at me? Precisely. That look on your face would be priceless. But you know what would really do for me? Seeing everybody's faces. Yeah, they'd be so disappointed, especially your little friends at your modeling gig. Are you out of your mind? Why would you want that for me? Because, my dear, you don't deserve happiness. I want everyone to think you're responsible for losing the ring, and they're going to think that when I tell them that you lost it. But I didn't lose it. It was right there in the box. The last person with the box it was you. I mean, how else do you think the ring got lost, Leffer? You're not very bright, are you? You're a real piece of shit, you know that? What did I ever do to you to deserve this? Where is my ring? You think you can just waltz into our lives and be the center of attention? I won't let that happen. Listen, Elise, I know everything, okay? Earl told me about your insecurities and how you hate being an ugly piece of crap because your sister was prettier than you or whatever. Excuse me? How dare you? But now is not the time for games. Give me my ring before things get ugly. I might be wearing this dress, but I know how to get dirty if I need to. It's too late, dear. The damage is done. Everyone will see you for the failure you are. Besides, no one will believe you if you say anything. If anything, you'll just look like the crazy bridezilla who lost her mind on her wedding day, and that's when Earl will come back to me. You're a horrible person. I can't believe you'd stoop so low just to make me miserable. Well, it's your fault, really. You never deserved to be part of this family. You think you're all high and mighty because you have good cheekbones. Well, guess what, sweetie? All of that posing and pouting is going to go to waste because you're just going to end up as a wrinkly old hag. Then, at that moment, Elise had thrown something at my head. I'm low-key glad she did, though, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have turned my head and noticed the cameras that were blinking red in the corners of the room. Then I smiled, remembering that the venue we were holding the wedding at was notorious for being strict on security. All of their rooms were wired with cameras and mics recording information in case of any crimes happening on the property. This was just my luck. Why the hell are you smiling? Don't you realize, you idiot? Your day is ruined. Everyone is going to hate you for wasting our time. I'm not so sure about that, Elise. Why? Look around. It took her a couple of seconds, but when she finally noticed the cameras, I noticed the blood drain from her face. She looked like she had just seen a ghost, and I couldn't have been happier. I couldn't believe the nerve of Elise. The audacity to sabotage my wedding by stealing my ring. She started stuttering out some excuses, saying that it was all a joke and she was having a bit of fun before the wedding started. But even a 2-year-old could see just how stupid she was being, tried to lie to me like that. Without thinking, I bolted for the door. I searched for Earl and my bridesmaids, with Elise trailing behind me, trying to convince me not to do anything and promising to bring my ring back to me. She really thought that I would let it all go, but she had another thing coming. I finally found Earl by the fountain with some of my bridesmaids and my mom. I called out to them, and when Earl saw me, he turned around immediately. Babe, what the hell are you doing here? We're getting the ring situation sorted. Aren't you worried about the bad luck? Oh, don't worry, babe. I already found it. Earl turned around and I spilled the beans. I told him that Elise had stolen the ring. The shock on everyone's faces made Elise shrivel up even more, and the look on her face was priceless. Of course, that evil woman denied everything, but I wasn't about to let her get away with it. We needed to expose her, and I told everyone that we needed to head to the security room, telling them that the cameras would expose the real truth. She began to shake again, desperately telling us how it was all a joke, a prank even, but I told her to shut up. We all went to the security room to check the footage. Earl, Elise, my maid of honor, and my mom were there. Elise kept saying it was just a joke, but I wasn't buying it. I asked the guy running the security staff to check the footage from the bride's dressing room in the last hour. It didn't take long, and we all watched as Elise treated me like crap, yelling at me and basically trying to traumatize me on my wedding day. My mom, not great at English, started cursing at her in German and Romance. Elise stood there, caught in her lies, while the proof of her trying to ruin my day played out on the screens. "Mom, how could you? Why would you do something like this?" I can explain." "Don't bother. We heard your explanation loud and clear. You're a sick and twisted person, and to think you did this because of what, exactly?" "I told you, babe, she's jealous of you." "No, I want to hear it from your own mouth. What is your problem with me?" "It's because I wish I was you, okay? There, I said it. You're everything I'm not, and it breaks my heart." "So you go around trying to ruin my life just because you're miserable?" "You're sick and pathetic, Elise. I don't even know how you raised Earl to be the kind and smart man he is, because you're clearly the opposite. You're the ugliest person I've ever seen, both inside and out. Now we're running behind schedule, and it's all because of you." "Oh, baby, please listen to me." "No, Mom, I'm done with this crap. For months now, I've been trying to tell you to let go of this bitter obsession, but clearly you don't want to listen. I'm pressing charges." "What?" "You stole something very near and dear to me. That ring cost a fortune." "I have it right here. It's in my pocket." "I don't care. You still stole it. And if you hadn't been caught, you wouldn't have had any intention of returning it. So I'm going to press charges. Get out of my face." Earl pushed past his mom, not before grabbing my stolen ring that he snatched from her hands. He was on his way to the altar, surprising the guests, who had been waiting for things to get started for some time now. I didn't expect things to get crazier than they already had, but Earl started exposing his mother's actions to the seated guest. He told them how much he loved me and how he would choose me every time. The second-hand embarrassment I felt for Elise was too real. She looked like she wanted the ground to open up and swallow her whole. She ran up to Earl, trying to snatch the mic away, telling the guests not to listen to him, but it was too late. He was on a rant about how awful she really was. "I've been so patient with you, Mom, but I've had enough. I don't want to see you here." Earl was about to ask security to escort her off the premises, and I stopped him. I had an important announcement to make. Everyone stopped dead in their tracks when they saw the bride making her way to the altar and getting the mic. They knew it was about to go down. I wanted everyone to know that I scored a modeling gig for Elise as a surprise present for her, thinking it might help with her insecurities. Call it a last-ditch attempt at getting in her good graces. I thought, hey, if she gets the gig she always wanted, maybe she'll stop hating me. I guess it's a shame we'll never know how you'd feel after the gig, because I'm about to call them and tell them that their model is going to be wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of Gucci and haute couture. Elise was screaming at this point, begging for empathy and forgiveness from anyone who would pay attention to her. But even people in the congregation were turning away and murmuring about how badly she was embarrassing herself. Eventually she had to be escorted off, and Earl and I proceeded with the wedding. It was a bit shaky trying to get back on our feet after that disaster, but we were all low-key happy knowing that Elise was sobbing somewhere, waiting to be detained for theft. It all worked out in the end. Hey guys, my name is Kay and I'm 42 years old. As the kids say, let me spill the tea on this wild journey I've been on. And don't be too mad at me, because I'm sure you'll agree when I say that he deserved everything that was coming to him. I moved to Arkansas a few years back to be closer to my son, who's working here in the States. Originally from Sudan, I wanted to soak up that American culture because I had never been. To be honest, it took me a long time to get the hang of things around here, but overall, I've been enjoying my stay. I've always enjoyed American shows, so it was nice coming to the place that I had been watching when I was growing up. I lived in a small apartment that wasn't too far from the city. Things were perfect around here. That was until a few months ago when I got a new neighbor. Now, let me tell you, everything was pretty good in this apartment complex. It wasn't anything fancy, but we had this lovely little community going on, a melting pot of different folks, and I was digging it. Enter Stefan, the new guy. This dude was like a storm rolling in. No nonsense, always offended, even by things that had zero to do with him. You know the type. Energy vampires, sucking the life out of you with their negativity and pessimism. I've been on this earth way too long to let this guy come in and mess up our beautiful community with his negativity. And to make matters worse, he seemed like a racist, catching him saying some foul things and shooting me disgusted looks when I'm around. Oh no, we're about to have a showdown. I never let those looks slide. I made sure he knew that the one being disgusting was him. I don't take racism lightly. I've traveled quite a bit in my lifetime, and as a Sudanese woman, I faced my share of hateful folks. But living right next to one, that was unexpected. Stefan had an issue with me because I never hesitated to challenge him. Whenever he threw a snarky comment my way, I hit back just as fast, leaving him stunned. It was my little way of letting him know he couldn't just spew negativity without consequences. If you hate it here so much, why don't you just leave? We were all happy here before you came. I could say the same thing about you, sweetheart. Why are you here? Why don't you go back to your country? Look who's throwing stones in the glass house. Are you forgetting that you just got here? You can't speak to me that way. Yes, I can. I can do whatever I want, and you can't stop me. I'm going to make your life a living hell. Just you wait. Stefan might have been many things, but a promise breaker wasn't one of them. He vowed to make me miserable, and boy, he did deliver. Rowdy, crazy parties became a regular thing, leaving me struggling to fall asleep and waking up feeling like crap. Sometimes people wouldn't even come over. He would just blast the music all by himself, I guess. Like a loser. Now, let me remind you, I'm in my 40s. I can't be staying up that late every night without facing the consequences. My health was deteriorating. I would get so agitated due to the lack of sleep, and people noticed how drained I was. I was getting sick and tired of that Stefan guy thinking that he could run the place. Despite knowing that Stefan was just trying to get under my skin, I tried my best not to let him see that he had successfully pissed me off. Weeks passed, and complaints to the landlord proved to be useless. Even when I rallied some other people to help me complain, we didn't have any luck. Turns out Stefan had some connections and he knew the contractors of this apartment complex, meaning he could try and twist the narrative to benefit him and to make us all look bad. Rumor had it he was running from debt back home, and a friend over here was helping him hide out. Yikes. Now you might be thinking, just go to the police. Well, you see, that would work if we could trust the police here. You think someone who looks like me would be able to get the attention and respect of some very racist police officers? Absolutely not. Now, Stefan, on the other hand, he was your stereotypical white guy. Of course, they were going to listen to him instead of us. Besides, we were already in a pretty poor part of town and people didn't care about people like us. We just had to endure it until he decided enough was enough, I guess. Dealing with all his crap was so unfair, and he could tell his tactics were working. The wild parties persisted, and how a 35-year-old man had the energy for all that, only the heavens knew. I thought he couldn't keep it up forever, but it had been going on for about 2 months. at that point, and I was completely fed up and ready to throw in the towel. One night, or rather early morning at 3 a.m., I found myself pounding on his door because of the loud music. After what felt like an eternity, he finally opened up. "What the hell is your problem? Don't you know that some people have kids here?" "Does it look like I care?" "Listen, I know you're probably the type of guy who had everything handed to you, but we are real people here, with real feelings. Can you give us a break?" "Oh, how sad. I don't care. This is all your fault. You should apologize, and maybe I'll consider turning it down." "Ha, me? Apologize to you? For what?" "Well, you're the one who provoked me." "I didn't do anything to you. If anything, you're the one who started all this. And do you know why? It's because you are a disgusting racist." "Listen here, you weasel. I won't stand being talked to like this from the likes of you. Why don't you find an elephant and go back to where you came from?" "How classy of you. You kiss your mother with that mouth. Although I'm sure that she'd be just as disgusted as I am. You're a grown man, for crying out loud. When do you get the time to sleep?" "In the afternoon, of course." "Yeah, of course. Because you're a lazy bum. You don't work. God knows how you're paying for the place. Oh, wait. I heard you had some friends who were helping you out of a sticky situation. Tell me, what kind of humiliating things do you need to do to get them to keep letting you stay here, huh?" "I've had enough of this. You better know your place before I call the very friends you are insulting." "I'm not insulting them. I'm insulting you. Although I'm sure anyone who's associated with you isn't exactly a fun time to be around." "You know what? Just for that, I'm going to turn the music up even higher." "Go ahead. You're already messing up all of our sleep schedules." "You're a worthless piece of trash. You look like it, and you smell like it too," says the one who's acting like he's a freshman in college. "Oh, what's wrong, buddy? You peaked in high school and you're trying to find your sense of purpose? Newsflash. Your purpose is to be a reminder of what happens when you think you're better than everyone. You end up as an old, bitter troll." "Look who's talking." "Why are you even doing this, really?" "I'm doing this because I hate you and your people. I want you to be so upset you willingly leave this place, you and all your little hippy-dippy friends. None of you are welcome here, and you should all go back to your countries." Wow, you are such a sad, pathetic man. "Yeah? Well, at least I'm not homeless." "Neither am I. Just wait. I'll make sure it happens." Sure enough, true to his word, the parties didn't stop. Stefan was so rowdy and annoying, allowing his crazy drunk guests to use my balcony pot plants as a toilet to throw up in. It was disgusting. I was on the verge of tears out of frustration. I begged and pleaded with my landlord to do something about it, but just like last time, he was of no use. I was getting angry at him too because he needed to do more and stand up for all of us. He was clearly too chicken to face the big bad bully Stefan. One day, as I paced in my home, thinking about how to make this better, I decided I would become the next landlord, or landlady in this case. At first, I thought I might be doing too much, but upon further consideration I realized I was the perfect fit. I had been there for years. I knew the place like the back of my hand. People recognized me as the designated grandma of the place, and I was thrilled to take on the role. Everyone looked up to me, and if my landlord wasn't going to do something about it, I certainly needed to. I asked some of the other residents what they thought about me taking over. They were excited, saying that I had given them hope that things would finally get better. With the help of some friends rallying behind me and us protesting the poor conditions, we got the attention of the apartment complex's supervisor and building manager, who was above the landlord. but different from the contractor. I wasn't too sure if he was aware of Stefan and his shady background. I didn't want to risk losing all the progress we had made fighting the power and posting about it on social media, because what if this guy was in Stefan's pocket too? So we got his attention by drawing attention to other issues in the place, issues he couldn't ignore, such as the poor conditions, the lack of renovations, as well as the unreliable water system. It also helped big time that the current landlord was ready to retire. So all the signs were pointing to me, and I was excited. It seemed like becoming a landlady was now a possibility after it was just a passing thought, and I was ready to show Stefan and any of his cronies that if you mess with the big dog, you better be ready for this bite. I also asked my son to help us out with this situation since he was a paralegal. He could assist us in getting a case going against Stefan and anyone else who was disturbing the peace. Slowly but surely, the pieces were coming together. Stefan continued to be a menace. He stopped blaring loud music at night like he used to. He'd do it maybe 3 times a week now instead of every day. But he would cause ruckuses in other ways. He would steal people's groceries left on their front door and try to solicit people, and he was just a nasty guy to be around. Every single time he went out of his apartment, it was time for all of us to go into ours. That's how much everyone hated him. Anyway, a few more weeks went by, and I felt like I was finally ready to present my case. I approached the manager with conviction, laid out all the truths about our living conditions, except the stuff about Stefan, and told him that I was ready to take on the position as the next landlady. He told me that he would get back to me after reviewing our case, and all we had to do was patiently wait for him and his decision. I was nervous for those couple of days, wondering if all of this hard work was for nothing. But then we got the news that he had accepted our proposal. Yes, I was over the moon and excited for everything that was to come. I was getting bored and wanted something new. I knew that taking care of this community was the right step, and because of Stefan, it was the necessary step. Now, thankfully, I and the other residents had managed to keep this a secret from Stefan, thinking that if he knew, he would definitely do something to stop us. Luckily, he was none the wiser, and I was set to hand-deliver the news to him, which was the moment I had been waiting for this whole time, to stick it to his stupid face. But before I could do all of that, I had to wait for my son to finish up the case file we were making against Stefan and all of his shady actions. Somewhere in the middle of all of this fighting for justice, we decided that we didn't just want to silence Stefan, we wanted him gone for good. With the help of my son, as well as getting some more dirt by talking to people around the neighborhood, we found out some pretty nasty stuff that our dear old buddy Stefan was getting up to. Turns out that the debt from back home was more than just that. Apparently, he's known back home for having a crazy gambling addiction, as well as being charged for gross misconduct because one time he was very drunk and he exposed himself to people in public. Yikes. Turns out he's an even bigger loser than we thought. Additionally, he was caught for fraud and hacking, and some people were even suspecting money laundering in the list of crimes as well. This guy had a whole rap sheet of offenses, and I was determined to bring them all to light. Also, his friends were forgotten in all of this. I also wanted to find out exactly who they were and take them all down so that we wouldn't have to worry about any more nonsense after that. Once I got word from my son that everything was a go, I was ready to take stupid Stefan down. Like I said, I didn't take too kindly to racists, and he was going to regret the day he set foot in our community. I decided to present the news to him in the middle of the night, a little payback for all those sleepless nights I had. It seemed like today was one of his off days because there was no music. He was fast asleep like a normal human being. Unfortunately for him, he was about to receive another rude awakening. He answered the door, sounding groggy and tired. When he saw that it was me, he suddenly squared up, having all of the energy for a fight. I was ready to bring it, however, so I didn't mind all of the insults and curses he was throwing my way. I let him ramble for a bit, enjoying the look on his face now, so that I could savor the disappointment he was about to experience. "What the hell are you doing here?" "Nice to see you too." "It's 2 in the morning. I'm trying to sleep here. What do you want?" "Funny. I thought this was peak partying time for you and your friends. Whatever happened to that, huh?" "Don't start with me. You don't even deserve to breathe the same air as me, you worm." "Oh, that was a good one. I'm sure you will find the right crowd for your comedy with where you're going. You better stop practicing your icebreakers." "What are you talking about?" 3 things. You're being evicted, I'm the new landlady, and you'll be going to jail soon, so don't think about skipping town. They will still find you, and that's an extra charge. You're welcome for the free advice." Wait, hold up. What did you just say to me?" "What, are you deaf or something? 35, already losing your hearing? Maybe it's because of all that music you were blasting." "You think you're hilarious, don't you?" "I know I am, but unfortunately, I'm not lying about anything I just said. I'm the new landlady." I showed him the paper I had in my hand, and he snatched it, reading it frantically. His eyes got wider when he saw that it was all legit. I was the newly designated landlady for our apartment complex, and he just couldn't handle it. "How is this even possible?" "You see, Stefan, evil may come for a visit, but be rest assured, it will never become comfortable here. You're a terrible person, and your sins are catching up to you." "Shut up. I don't believe in God." "Well, maybe you should, because with where you're going, you're going to need him." "This is ridiculous. Who would listen to someone like you? You're nothing. You are the scum of the earth." "Wrong again, Stefan. It's actually you who's the scum of the earth, and soon everyone will know it too. You and your little friends, you are all going down." Before he could answer, I shoved another document in his hands. He was reading it over and over and over again, and I could see his resolve crumbling in his eyes. Bingo. I told him how we would be building a case against him this entire time, and that there was ample evidence to warrant an arrest. Of course, he got to screaming and cussing at this point, calling me all sorts of slurs to try and rile me up. But I was firm with him and told him to stop acting like a baby. I told him that he made his bed and now he had to lie in it. He was fuming, and to add insult to injury, I told him this one last thing. "And as the new landlady of this complex, I'll have to officially and formally kick you out of here. I would say it was nice having you here, but that would be a lie." You can't kick me out. I need at least 1 month's notice." "You are absolutely right, Stefan. I guess you could move out now, or risk having your stuff donated or burned once you get arrested, which should be very soon, actually, so the choice is yours. All I know is I can't stand to live another week seeing your disgusting face in this building." Then the strangest thing happened. Stefan started crying. He dropped to his knees and began begging me for forgiveness, asking me to have mercy and telling me that he would never say anything rude again. "Please, you can't do this to me. I'm sorry, all right? I didn't mean any of the stuff that I said." "Really? Because you said some pretty heavy stuff. I had this girlfriend from South Sudan, okay? She broke my heart. And so you decided to take out all of your frustrations on black and brown people? What's wrong with you?" "I know, it's messed up. I need help, okay? You have to help me." "You're gonna get all the help you need when you're locked behind bars." "No, please, Kay, please, Miss Kay, I'll do anything. I'll start paying double the rent. Just drop the charges, please. You have no idea how much trouble I'm in. They would deport me, and I can't go back home." So strange how the guy who was so comfortable telling people to go back to their homes is afraid to go back to his. I should have studied psychology. Kay, please. You had your fun, okay? Just help me out, please. I started laughing at him, and he was pissed at this but also desperate, so he continued to beg, which was so pathetic. He told me that he had nowhere else to go and that he couldn't go to prison. But I told him that it was all way too late, and that he had more than enough time to apologize to everyone and change his ways. But he wasn't listening. He just kept crying and crying like a baby, telling me how sorry he was. This went on for way too long, and I was forced to call the police and have them escort Stefan off the premises because he was causing a disturbance. As the new landlady, I wouldn't stand for any of it. It was like killing two birds with one stone, since there was already a warrant out for his arrest. I basically did the police's job for them. The police arrived shortly after and arrested Stefan, adding noise pollution to the laundry list of crimes he was involved in. And this was just in America. God knows what he was doing in the comfort of his own home in Greece. This man was just bad vibes, and I was so glad to finally be rid of him. In the morning, I held a small gathering and the whole building was invited. We ate, we danced, we laughed. We celebrated this new freedom from people who weren't interested in helping us. True to my word, I discarded most of Stefan's things because, let's face it, we don't know what was going on his furniture during those rowdy parties, and nobody deserved to sit on those couches. There was a couple who had been looking to settle somewhere quaint and quiet, and I was ready to give them Stefan's old place. I was in the mood to make some new memories, ones without Stefan. Stefan is currently rotting in a jail cell, awaiting trial. Turns out he has zero loyalty to the friends who helped him stay at my apartment, because he was squealing like a little piggy when he was being interrogated, telling the officers everything they needed to know about these shady contractors. They too were also arrested, thank God, so we didn't have to worry about anyone else coming into our little haven and disturbing the peace. It's been a month since Stefan and his cronies were arrested, and already this place seems to be brighter and livelier. Everyone around me can't stop thanking me for taking the initiative to change this place for the better, and I couldn't help but be proud of myself. Not only did I make the living conditions better for people here, but I also put a dirty, racist dirtbag behind bars. I felt like I was on cloud 9. Sometimes, if I feel like being extra spicy, I'll visit Stefan in jail just to see how he's doing. In case you were wondering, he's not doing too good, folks. He's getting skinnier, and it looks like they're really roughing him up in there. I don't know what he expected. Maybe he thought that the police would separate him from the friends he ratted out. But when you're working with a police force that's heavily underfunded and a bit corrupted, anything goes. Those guys were giving him the business, I'll tell you that. When Stefan realized that I wasn't there to help him, he stopped accepting visits from me, which was hilarious because I had already won. Now he was just left in the corner of a dirty jail cell, licking his wounds.